Okay, 30, and I'm gonna go ahead and call the Community Redevelopment Advisory Committee meeting to order, June 8th, 2021. We have a roll call from the clerk's office.
Okay, Ms. Decker? Here. Ms. Hires? Mr. McCallum?
Here.
Ms. Janet Moses? Here. Ms. Melinda Moses? Ms. Gloria Spivey? Mayor Witt?
Here.
Chairman Jefferson?
Here.
Mr. Helfenberger?
Here.
And Mr. Coberline?
Okay, thank you. Next, we're gonna move to the approval of the agenda. And I have a walk-on item that I'd like to put on for the committee's consideration before we approve the agenda. And it's gonna be in reference to tree removal on Marion Street. And I'm gonna label that item, make that item number 7 up under new business.
Okay, I'd make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
And second.
You have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, receive it by saying aye.
Aye.
Like the signs opposed. The ayes have it. Next is the minutes, and the minutes is included. And I have reviewed the minutes. I'm sure everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes. Can I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor of the minutes as presented, let's receive them by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. Public comments. Are there anyone from the public that would like to address?
Well,
the
Mr. Chairman, I
committee?
had further comments, but I want to speak to item 2, after Mr. Henry made the presentation, because I may or may not have anything to say depending on
Okay,
what the update is.
okay. Is there any public comments, anyone on Zoom or from outside that is online that wish to make a public comment? Okay. Moving on, we're moving on to our old business. Update, item 2, Sally Mae Jarrett Park. Mr. Thomas Henry. I think we have the next 2 items too, so I'll leave the podium.
How are y'all doing for it? Good. The update on the LED sign for the Sally Mae Jerry Park. I was able to get 2 quotes of the one that we discussed the first time. And one came in at $13,618.25. The other one came in today at $34,500. And I'm still waiting. I should have had the other one today, but I guess the gentleman, he said he's been having a hard time getting parts. So, and besides that, it's trying to get pricing, because parts are kind of hard to get hold of right this moment. But but that's where I'm at, and that's the one-sided sign that was all approved at the last meeting. I know, I think Mr. Ballard and I have talked in the past, a week or so ago, and we've talked about possibly doing a double-sided sign. So I reached back out to these vendors, and each vendor said it's gonna be double than the price I've already gave them. I mean, they already gave me.
What was your guesstimate before you got the bids?
I didn't know, 'cause I never dealt with the LED signs, so I didn't really.
So you didn't have any idea?
No, sir.
And and did you see anything in the 13 and the 30 that made?
No, there's not really any difference. I mean, both of them's local. And it just, and matter of fact, it even comes from the same manufacturer, because the manufacturer guy even called me, the gentleman called me on it. And we're even doing the electrical, and we're even doing the concrete base that's gonna be set on to try to bring the pricing down for what we can do. But that's the pricing right there, and that's just 2 different companies.
Okay.
So what was those prices again, Tony? The first one was from Action Signs, was $13,618.25. And the second one was from North Florida Printing Company, and they were $34,500. Now,
So you said that is for one side.
that's the one side of the sign that you've seen that we've advertised before, had an American flag on it.
Yeah.
You know, I just did something for color for y'all to see. It should be in your package. But the LED, we can program to say anything we wanted to say. There's a public boiling notice or an event going on, we can advertise it. So it's got a very easy program that I'll be able to do even on my cell phone or a laptop, computer, you know, whatever we have it hooked up to.
What kind of warranty did they come with? Did they come with maintenance from the company?
There's a warranty of 1 year. On both of them, yeah.
In North Florida, 136,000 for one side,
34.5.
34,500.
So these are the price, one side by two different vendors.
Yeah.
Two vendors, yes, sir. And kind of like how we drawed up the park, it's gonna be on the angle of the corner of Marion and Long. Street's gonna be on that angle. Because that's how we had the fence coming in also. Was the black iron fence, how it's gonna be coming in, because we have to have it set back anyway for safety, for when people drive around, they have to be able to see. So it's gonna be set back at least 20 feet.
If you did the two-sided,
You do a two-sided, you're looking at double cost.
that,
And then you can just put it straight. And it's gonna mess up the order of the fencing that we've already ordered.
right,
Because that's what we discussed, how we're gonna do it.
right,
And that's how it was all measured out, because this is being manufactured to order, the fencing.
yeah.
If an action sign could do two sides, what is it, 27,000?
Yes, sir. About around 27,000.
Notwithstanding the fence, how it's gonna affect that fence, that would seem to be the most economical way to go, to get both sides done.
Yeah, because how we all discussed it was the fencing is 4 foot, and that was gonna fit in under that 4 foot fencing. But now if we do that, I'm gonna have to buy another piece of fence to fill that, and that sign's gonna have to be up higher where you can see it. And as you see, I gave you a picture of what Sally Mae's already looking like now. I'm still waiting on material to come in, like the other fencing and concrete. But it's gonna be up higher now. So it's gonna, the base of it's gonna be 4 foot, the base, so it's gonna be up a lot higher. We'll be able to,
So it needs to go up higher above the fence level
yes, sir.
to be seen on both sides.
It'll be 4 more feet higher than the fence. It's 8 feet taller.
But if we have one-sided
Yeah, one side's gonna blend in with the fence.
and it's more visible coming north, I guess.
It'll be more visible if you're going north or coming east on Long Street.
Right,
Only bad thing is when you're coming from north going south, you're gonna have to turn to look.
right,
And that's the only downside.
right.
But it is gonna be angled.
But now, before we leave that item, I want to speak to him before we go to the next item.
Go ahead. You can speak now.
I said, Mr. Nash, this is.
Go ahead, speak now. Go ahead.
Been about in 1156 Northeast Bascom Norris. And Mr. Henry's correct, I did speak with them. I don't know if you all had the opportunity to ride by that site and just do a vision in terms of what it would actually look like. I was at the last meeting, and I didn't say anything then because I wasn't sure exactly what we were talking about. Let me give you a little bit of background. I worked at the Department of Transportation for 11 years. 3 of those years I was in outdoor advertising. all I did for those 3 years is ride up and down state and federal highway looking at billboards and signs and interacting with people in outdoor advertising business. It's repetition and it's visibility. What you all approved the last time, it's not a reason, but it's just my opinion, because it's on an angle. So the northbound traffic basically not gonna see it. So nobody just gonna turn their head and do a good read. They may turn, but they don't have time to read. If you look at any other digital signs around the city, whether it's school board or the high school or anywhere else, it's back to back. And the reason for that is you get double visibility. When you come up to Long Street, up to Marion, yes, if you sit there for a second or two, you'll read it, but if you come there to turn right or turn left, you're gonna be trying to get into the traffic. You're not gonna sit there and read that sign, in my opinion. And if you do, you're gonna be blowing their horn. So I'm thinking that, I don't know what will cause the cost of the sign to double when the only thing that you're changing is the read on the sign. I mean, everything else remains the same. The base, the structure, everything is the same. So if they're saying it's gonna cost twice the money just to add another board that you can read, that don't seem reasonable to me. You know, because if you're talking about 2 signs, that's one thing, but you're not talking about 2 signs. You're only talking about 2 LED parts of it. So what about the other cost? The other cost is already in there, so I'm not sure that's a good quote. It just seems to me that if you're really trying to get a message out, you want people to be able to read it when they're coming into Lake City going south and when they're going back out going north. I don't know what the traffic study says, but I would suspect that people coming in north, everybody don't coming in south. Everybody don't go back north. Some people be headed downtown, they come back, they go to Main Street, they come back to Vasconara, they come back over this way. But everybody who comes into Lake City on Marion Street does not necessarily go back the same way. It may be convenient coming in, but going back out, that may not be the route to take. We don't have a traffic count to say that. So it just seems to me that if you're gonna spend 13,000 or 26,000, but I know you're gonna spend 26,000, that don't make sense. That you wanna spend it where you're gonna get most of the money. And I would think that if you're gonna spend to the minimum on the single side, it wouldn't be a good expenditure of money, in my opinion. You know, I think that you might want to consider another type of sign. I know that Mr. Green, one who brought it up, and that's nice and consistent with the park. And then think about a message board when you build City Hall, where you're gonna have more traffic. You know, if you have a back-to-back message sign at the new City Hall, and people going from the north and south will be able to read it. Or putting a sign that's Saturday there, that's one-sided, I think it defeats the purpose, to be honest with you. I just can't give them my pass and outdoor advertising. It just seems to me that if you're gonna spend that kind of money, the people going either direction should be able to read the sign. Otherwise, you know, you're missing it, to be honest with you. And I don't place a lot of value on the traffic that's coming up Long Street, but I go there all the time. I go to the cemetery every day, so I'm always coming by there. And I doubt they're restricted. When I get that stop sign, I'm trying to turn left, turn right. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time there reading that message board, and particularly if it's a long message. So that's my take on it, that the quotes is unreasonable for the two sides, because just think about it. We're not talking about 2 signs. We're talking about 2 LED message board. And there's no way the LED message board costs as much as the whole structure. That's not even reasonable. You know, if Mr. Henry said that we're gonna do the electricity, we're gonna do part of the work. And you're gonna tell me that in order for it to be back to back, it's gonna cost twice the amount of money. That doesn't seem reasonable to me. So that's just my observation, and it's not something I want to take to the mat and argue about and, you know, just got to have it. But I will say that if it's not gonna be back to back, then I don't think that it's a good expenditure of the fund to have it single like that, when the only people who are gonna be able to get a good reader would be the folk who are going north. I thought earlier that the house was gonna block the view, but I came by intentionally this afternoon just to be sure. But when you get to that house, the O'Neill's house, you know what I'm talking about, you still got 10 or 15 seconds worth of read time if you drive the speed limit. Because you can see, I thought really that you wouldn't be able to see the sign because of the house. but that's not true. You know, you can see the sign still if it's up the 8 feet that he's talking about and visibility. So I think that if you're gonna spend the money, I think you ought to look at a two-sided, or either go down there and revisit it and look again, because I just don't see spending that kind of money on the same side when the only people who impact basically gonna be people going north.
Thomas, to go back, the one that did the 13,000, if we asked them just to give us, you know, just say it came up, could you give us a, probably don't say anything about,
I'll get another.
and then the one that hadn't give us one yet, just say, could you do it that way, the 30,000, I don't think we need to even go back to them.
Yes, that's all right, that's no problem.
I mean, if it's not that big a deal, that way we have something to talk about.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, it's not something that, you know, I got my heels dug in on, but it just doesn't make sense to me to have a sign that's like this and the only people gonna be able to get a good read is the one going north. And we know where the growth is, so the people going north does not represent the majority of the people in this community if you go past Baskinard. You know, the real traffic is down there and coming in from the south. And so just having that one side is just not adding up to me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll revisit with the companies and get them to send me a quote for both sides, if that's what your wishes.
Okay, and before we leave that, Mr. Bowden had a valid point there, with the sign, be it 13,000 or the 34,000, if you're gonna charge me double of the same amount for a double side, I mean, seem like they'll give us two complete different signs, but I mean, one sign, some of the hardware is already there, and you're just asking for, to make it visible on both sides, but you're gonna charge me double.
Yeah, you have half the hardware, but now you're gonna add the other half on the other side, besides the base, now you're gonna be up 8 feet, well, 4 feet, or 2 foot, so I don't know how the basement, I don't know how that really reacts.
Yeah.
But it is two separate signs in a way, but they're just put together. That's why they told me it would be double, they verbally told me that. Because after Mr. Powell and I talked about it, I called the companies and just said, hey, what's what? And that's what they told me.
Okay. Well, then I'm in agreement too with, you know, go ahead and try to negotiate with them and see what we can come up with, and then we'll readdress it again.
I'll give calls first thing in the morning.
Okay. Okay, moving on to any more questions on item 2? That'll be different. As we can see, Thomas presented us with a picture of it, and we're moving along with it. It looks real good there, and when they placed the grass in there, it really pulled it out, you know, to me. Before we got to this point, I was wondering, well, then what is it really gonna look like? But when you put the grass in there, it really brought the entire park out. So,
Well, like I said earlier, that, you know, I would love to have this project finished with, but we're still waiting on material coming in.
yeah,
And that's the privacy fence and the black wrought iron fence and, you know, concrete courts and a little bit more sod. And them two items are pretty easy. It's just the fencing that we're waiting on to really have it fully showcased.
yeah,
Mr. Chair.
yeah.
Almost, what's the capacity of the park? I mean,
I might have to do with the fire chief on that.
what about the parking? Is there adequate parking for the facility?
As right now, no, sir. The city is looking at trying to purchase that property on the west side of that privacy fence.
Yeah.
Where they tore down the old White House right there.
Right.
We are trying to get that. I know our city attorney's been working very, very hard. Mr. Young's been working real hard, trying to get all, you know, all the contacts of the families
Right.
and everything. And some has passed and some has went to other heirloom. And then some have, some wants to sell, some don't.
So it's
Other
heirs
family.
property?
Sir?
Is it heirs property?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then there was another gentleman just recently, or another family member, I don't know if it's a gentleman or a woman, but just passed away within the last week or two. Now it's in their family. So now we're having to reach out more and more. And so that's what's going on, trying to get that piece of property for parking. I'm not sure where we're going. I'm glad we went ahead, the board decided to go ahead and build the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because right now, it keeps on rolling. It's like we're getting farther and farther behind on that parking lot. So at least we got all of that built.
Yeah, that was a good addition.
Okay, if nothing else, Thomas, we'll move on to item 3, update on the portable bathrooms.
But as I reported last time, the portable bathrooms for the 10-stall trailer type air conditioning and everything, power and all, holding tanks, that was gonna be, the closest price I got was $58,000 for one. And that was separated for men's and women's side of the bathroom. The board, y'all asked me to look back into it, and I did, and I've looked around for like leasing. Leasing a 10-stall, because we basically need a 10-stall at least for our events. Danielle definitely knows, she's worked all these events in the past, so she definitely knows. And the reason I'm saying, that's the reason I'm staying with 10 stalls, but to lease it is $2,000 a day. I ain't counting maintenance, I ain't counting delivery. It's $2,000 a day to lease it. And I have a bill that Ms. Faye Baldwin gave me from the Battle of Lusty over a year ago. And it was $4,000 what they paid Floney's Plumbing for the portable toilets. And it was $4,000 right there. So I went back, looking at stuff, talking to my staff, everybody that works these events. And I got with Mr. Heffenberger and I discussed it. I had money in my budget to buy a shed that I was gonna make bathrooms for my guys, my crews, because we don't have one bathroom out there at Public Works, ever. But I made one a couple years ago for my inmates that has 6 stalls, and we don't have inmates. So now I can put them guys, I mean, they can use it for a restroom, and I could get 2 of the portable buildings and dress them up, air condition them, all insulation, toilets and everything. And buying the 2 was $62,000. These are 10 by 16 foot separate portable shed buildings. So we went ahead and purchased them, because if not, I can still build bathrooms out there at Public Works if y'all don't want to go forward with it. But for $8,000 from the CRA board, I could outfit both of them with air conditioning, toilets, dividers, insulation, walls inside, sinks, safety changes, everything. And we have access, we have a trailer, a tilt trailer that we load equipment on, so we can move them ourselves and set them up.
That was my next question. Are they versatile or are they fixated?
No, they're portable. I've got the booklet on them. They're very sturdy. I went out there and jumped around in them myself and showed, which I have the book with warranty. And they said we won't have no problem for doing that. They said others have done that before, even like little offices and stuff like that on construction sites. So with the $8,000 and the others, we're looking about $14,000 total. But I'm only needing 8 from the board because I already have the 62 on my budget, my Public Works budget.
I'll make a motion that we recommend the city council to do that, because I think that's really needed and saves a lot.
Yeah.
Then we'll go to the CRA, wouldn't it?
The CRA funding,
Yes, so we have to be,
Yeah.
8,000, that's all.
approved through the CRA, I believe.
We use it for all of it.
Yeah,
Could you charge other people to use it if they wanted to rent? Would
That'll
you
be
do that?
up, that'll be up to our council and the city manager. I could say yes, but that's up to them.
I think it's something to look into. I don't know if we wanna get into it a lot, but it wouldn't hurt to get our money back occasionally and have requirements of.
I would think outside public use, we should,
Well, I mean, maybe not for stuff like some sort of private event, but even thinking like when the chamber did, Fourth of July or beer festival, all those types of things. I mean, we would spend several thousands of dollars to rent porta potties that nobody wanted to use. So, I mean, if they're all gonna have to pay for the money somewhere anyway, why not help recoup some of the costs and be like, aside from the moving of the it.
I second the motion, what the mayor made.
And that would be for the CRA funds, right? For the CRA
Right.
board?
yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Is the motion for up to $8,000 in funding?
Yes.
Is that the
That was
special
what
Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We broke everything down.
Okay, item 4, update on downtown banners. Thomas?
Downtown banners, as council asked me, I was looking at the different sizes of the banners like we have right now. Sizes we have right now is 18 by 36. The size, it's on these antique light bulbs. The board asked me to look for them, longer, 18 still inches wide, but 45 inches is the next step. And so I went and got all new pricing. And I believe in your packet you have the first quote I gave you. Is it in your packet? I'm not sure. But where it went, basically, the lowest bidder came in at $49,162. And that's for all the banners downtown and the ones around the lake.
What was that amount again? I'm sorry, Tom.
$49,162. That's for the ones up and down, all downtown, from Bay all the way to 100 Bascom North. And those sides from 90 to Bay Railroad Track to Bascom North are the concrete poles. So those are more costly because we have to go a lot bigger on those. But the normal ones that we have right here on the antique poles, with the total of those, just said it was $49,162. So the lowest bidder on the others, the same company, was $46,670. So $2,500 difference. Gonna give them longer.
So the 46,000 is the price for the size that we have now. And then the
The 46,
49,
yes,
and then the 49 is
is the larger
For
one.
the larger one.
Yes. And that's the wreaths and everything, the Christmas wreaths and everything. I mean, I kept that in there. So that's with all the Christmas wreaths. That goes all the way through downtown too.
I would suggest with $2,000 to $3,000 difference, and we think the larger one will be much better and give us much more visibility. We should go with the larger ones.
There's several members, do we have money to do that?
In the CRA, yes.
Okay.
So this is just for the Christmas.
That's the Christmas wreaths, yes, during Christmas time, they hook on to the poles and they hang out. And those were. And those were 34 inches tall I mean, it's rounded but tall. And then the ones on concrete poles would be 38 inches. So they're pretty big.
So since I wasn't here, I'm a little bit confused. Are we needing to replace them one way or the other? Is that what?
Yes,
Yeah.
the ones that we have now are, they're deteriorating.
Yeah.
They're falling apart. You see what we did.
And so that would be for all of these?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the whole thing.
We set up a committee, Christina Roberts helped me, stay bowling. And we came up with, that's what was all voted on, and that's what we presented at the last.
Yeah, I think we should do the larger ones too, for such a small.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll make a motion to go with the larger size banners to replace the current ones that we have for $49,162.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second regarding the banners. All in favor of the motion, receive it by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign?
Excuse me, Chairman?
Yeah.
That's a motion to recommend to the CRA, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to item 5, the welcome sign.
At the last meeting, we were discussing the LED signing, about Sally Mae Jerry Park, and a couple of the members brought up the welcome Lake City signs in the 4 areas of coming into town, 41, 441, and 441 North, and 90. And that's what was talked about. I just need some guidance. What are we looking for? I think you got a picture. This is the only Lake City sign coming in to Lake City at this present time. But it used to be 2 of them. And we were gonna put another one up, but funding got cut, and that was back in 07, 08. And we were gonna put another one up out there by the high school. And I had the permits and everything to do it. But this one here is right there off of Bay, right across the street from Casey's Produce.
So are we proposing to build 3 more?
Well,
3 more welcome signs?
Well, what the proposal was at the last meeting was talking about doing away with this sign, but going to an LED sign where we can, advertise whatever's going on in our community, people coming in or out, to be able to see it. So I just need some guidance, how or where or what size.
But we also that talked about 4 signs, wasn't it?
The 4 signs, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
How much are these signs?
I wasn't at Public Works at the time when they built them, so I'll have to get all new pricing.
But I mean, a few thousand probably.
It'll be a lot cheaper than LED.
Yeah.
I know that much. I'm learning a lot about LEDs. But it'll be a lot cheaper.
And so the 4 places would be Bayonne.
Well, it'll be all the city limits, the north, south, east, and west, are coming in, of what was discussed. I think Ms. Melinda Moses was the one who brought that up.
Well, if we do the LED by Sally Mae Jerry, then that's one entrance. Or is that one of the ones we were talking about, entrances? We're talking about 41.
Yeah, well, we're looking at Baskin North as being an entrance.
Okay.
But right there, we were unable, Mr. Hefferberger, myself, and I've been working with Dollar General, and they don't want to give us no property to move the other sign, the gated sign, to the
Gotcha.
one right railroad, so they don't want to give us no property.
Where would the one on 90 West go at?
I'll just have to get out and look and get with code enforcement and see what we can and can't do by the code violation or codes. And then that's how we'll have to come back, but I'm just needing kind of guidance, what your
Where
wishes
you
are.
want them at, and
And then we can, like I said, I can get with code enforcement, and we can look at it, building department, and then we can come up and create, the areas. And then we can present everything at one time.
I mean, my personal opinion is I don't love the LED signs or that. I think if it was like, if we're on the interstate and you're trying to do a lot of stuff, but I think they kind of start to look tacky if you have too many of them, and especially like going down 90 or some of these other areas, like that looks a lot more, I mean, that looks dated because it is, but, I just think that looks a little bit more welcoming than flashing.
I agree too. I think this would be more, it's a, I just don't, I mean, personally, I wouldn't be interested in having an LED sign.
That's a 4x8 right there.
But maybe an upgraded sign such as this one, an upgraded one, I think will serve a nice purpose, I would think.
Yeah, I think we can get the message out different ways. And especially those locations, because they, people come in and visit. Even National Guards. Like Neil said, if it's on the interstate.
It's kind of nice to see a local sign though, like you go to Live Oak, you see welcome to Live Oak with a gold post, and
Yeah, I like it.
it looks nice and clean and refreshing. So I think it's important, so when you do come to town, you are, see welcome to Lake City.
Well, if we did a sign like that, but used the city logo, we got it out.
I'll start working on getting that information
I'm
up.
talking about letterhead.
I will get going on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Where are we? Okay, we're moving to new business now. Item 6, discussion of possible action, CRA annual report. Mr. Hilberger, you want to speak to that?
Okay. Okay, we've got the annual report for 2020. The first page, under the cover page, talks a little bit about the history and the origin. It was established in 1981. Talked about the first master plan approved in 89, and then the life of the downtown district was extended in to 2031 in 2015 to leverage about 1.3 million in redevelopment revenue notes to fund public projects. Council, the current city council makes up the CRA members. You look at the next page, it shows the boundaries of the CRA. You have several different districts. It's an independent special district that functions like a tax incremental financed area. If I can get to that on the last page, but if you look at the next page, you're looking at one of the main projects that was done, was worked on in 2020, finishing up with some of the Wilson Park development with infrastructure. We had the outdoor speaker system throughout the park put in for events, landscaping and trees for Wilson Park, irrigation, and the completing of the Veterans Plaza, pedestrian plaza. right next to the Blanche. Next page shows is some of the area for the projects in the future. The future project would be the amphitheater. At present, that is for the Department of Economic Opportunity, I believe, is looking at the funding for that. The idea was to try to get that done as soon as possible and then go into housing with that sort of funding with the Community Development Block Grant for public facilities. We also had the, as I mentioned, the welcome sign, the deck over the retention pond at Wilson Park, and then the other thing was looked at for, which is mostly done this year, is the total renovation of the Sally Mae Jerry Park. On the next page, you can see the Veterans Street Plaza. You have planters on both ends and bollards to keep the vehicles out. And that could be, that's a public traveled walkway. We're looking at potentially having signage on each end to kind of indicate what businesses are located along that plaza. Then the other thing is the last page is the financial report. This is made up of funds from both the county and the city. The county contributed $178,971, and the city $133,455, for a total of $313,599.66. And as of 2029, we had about $492,000 for infrastructure before these projects were done. I think we're still at about $392,000 in there. The county provides about 67% of the services. The main purpose, main expense that's carried out throughout this through the end of the life of it is the repayment of the debt on which was mainly used for Wilson Park improvements. Principal of $83,076, interest expense of $18,072, for a total of $103,149. There is $187,435 available for infrastructure in 2020. There was also operating expenses of about $40,773. There was some miscellaneous costs for insurance, maintenance of almost $14,000, and about almost $3,500 for utilities. You had about a little over $4,000 for communication, about $3,000 for contractual expenses, professional fees and accounting is about $3,000 total, for total expenses of $331,360. The last base year assessment was $24,818,927. That was from 2012. Any questions?
With the hospital closing, do we lose the taxes off of that now?
They first of all, they assessed almost nothing last time. They have, with the money they have in the bank account, I don't know if they're going to need to assess taxes anytime soon, so we probably would not get taxes off of that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hippenberger. Any questions from the floor?
We need a motion.
We need a motion recommending this to the CRA board for approval, and then it needs to be sent on to the state for review.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, receive it by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed with like sign. And the motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hippenberger. Moving on to our next item, item 7, tree remover. Ms. Tina Roberts, do you want to speak to that for us, please?
Will gladly speak about it. Downtown, we have 36 draped elm trees. If you'll look at the first picture, you know, I'm an ex-teacher, so y'all stay with me, don't go ahead and look on. But on the very first picture, you will see just some random shots of our town and what it looks like. What it looks, do you need one on?
I'm getting his,
Okay.
thank you.
So on this first piece, you'll see the draped elms. But the problem with these elms is that they get 50 feet tall and 40 feet wide. They're beautiful trees. They're almost like a vase with the beautiful hang down. They're gorgeous, but they're not appropriate for downtown. And I'm gonna tell you why, I'll show you why. And what we would like to do with beautification is to go from the south city gate to the north city gate. Now, what you have in your packet is just blocks 1 to 5, just for I didn't want to put a lot of time in unless I knew y'all were on the same page we were on. So this is just a sampling. So if you turn the page, you'll see that there's gorgeous pots. And we've researched and we have found that we can get pots like this or planters, and they're self-watering planters. So they hold up to 30 gallons. The largest planters hold 30 gallons, which last 2 weeks in watering. They run anywhere from $350 for a 10-year warranty or up to $500 for a lifetime warranty. But let's go on. That was just a sample of what it looks like and what are some of the things we could do. Now, if you'll look at block 1, and when I counted blocks, Thomas and I weren't on the same block count, but when I say block 1, that means everything on the right side of the block and everything on the left side. So on block 1, we've got the city gate. If you'll look at that picture, you will see that the tree is into the light post. And that's the issue with most all the trees. They're either blocking the street pole, light pole, or they're blocking a traffic light, or they're leaning on a building and messing up the awnings that are on there and messing up the views. So there was one by the parking lot on block 1 beside the city gate that needed to be removed. And then you can see some dead shrubbery, which is like that pretty much all through town. On the next page, block 1, we start with the law office and then Southern Sisters, 2 empty buildings, and then Lake City Cellular. And I put this on with Southern Sisters only to show you. And if you see on here 2 planters by door, 1 planter, that means that the merchant already has something out there. It may be dead or it may be empty, but they at least wanted it at some time. Southern Sisters is great. This is the look we're looking for. All right, now go on to block 2. And block 2 gets the A+ prize. They have no trees to remove. And the stores or the storefronts here are Edward Jones, the Music Academy, Downtown Nutrition, Furnishing on Marion, Gateway Art Gallery, Blue Goose, Nearly New, and Chandler Moses. So if you look at that street, If you will notice, there's not one tree on that street, and what a clean look that it has. You can see all the awning, you can see the uniqueness of the building. They are the only block in town that did not have a tree. In front of the, on the next page, in front of the home furnishings, all of that shrubbery in the front of the store needs to be replaced. And then there's another picture on the right that shows you the cleanliness of the look. And these planters are near the merchant's door. Then on the next page, you'll see a big eyesore. And I know that Blue Goose, Miss Moses, she has arranged her containers in front of her store. They're like stacked, maybe 3 or 4, and they hide this pipe. But this pipe shows, it just sticks out right there. And then we have another shrubbery issue. And then again on block 2, this is on the Olustee Park side. That particular tree has covering, once again, that light. You can look at the shrubbery around the base of the tree, how it's dead and needs to be replanted, as well as the third tree that we have on there. Going on to block 4, where City Hall would be, where the tree needs to be removed where the parking is for City Hall. And on the next, certainly block 3, the Blanche, there's 3 trees that really block the vision of everything, not to say all the dirt and leaves that it has. And that's one thing about Drake Elms. They're pretty trees, but they have these little seeds that just go all the time. And even though the first block doesn't have trees, the mess blows down that way. It's not just in front of the establishment. And you can see there on the bottom at the Blanche, on the balcony, they've had to just kind of cut a hole to work around the post on that balcony, which also obstructs your view to the lake. On block 4, we have Veterans Street, and then a tree that needs removing that's touching on the right picture. You can see that that's touching the awning there. And the picture across from it is like if you're at Marion Street and you're crossing the street and there's a parking lot, that's there. And this tree is just leaning and it needs to be removed. And then you have the Fiegel parking lot where there is a tree there that could possibly stay. These are just the ones that when I walked through, we pointed out that they were actually issues touching the buildings. Marion Street Cafe, theirs is touching the building. That picture shows that. And then you have block 5, and you have Frankie's Place that needs a tree removed. You can see his shrubbery. I did a close-up on the right, and then the other one by the red light. This is how the trees are going. This particular picture is taken in front of Keaton's. And then the other side of the street on block 5, this is just an example of the leaf mess that is always there. And you can see how the tree is. Now this is an empty office space here on the left on block 5. And I don't know who owns it. It was just empty. And then Keaton's again on the bottom. So you can see how that is and how the base of it looks. Then across the street, the Hares have a tree that they would love to have moved, and Ola's, which is a beauty shop. Now the merchants, I went to see every merchant and asked their opinion. How would they feel if the tree was removed? And they were all excited. They would love to have the tree removed. It's a mess. They were willing to have anything at all that would be beneficial to downtown to create more business and stores. So what we're proposing today is we've just kind of broken it up into 3 different phases where we weren't sure about the amount of money. And the money that I've said is really bones. So I'd like to come back and revisit if we needed to. But we have a proposal, and it says that we request your consideration to use the CRA funds to improve our downtown area on Marion Street. This project would be from the South Historic City Gates to the North Historic City Gates. The project consists of 3 phases. Phase 1 would be to remove all the Drake elm trees that do not have adequate space to grow. The ones that are in the building that are covering the light, are leaning over or on a red light are the ones we're talking about. Remove the shrubbery that is there. We would like to have that replaced with the red brick pavers that match other areas on Marion Street. Right out of City Hall, there used to be trees, and they're just squares that are pavers, red block. So we would like to put that where the tree and the shrubbery is. And then we would like to have the resurfacing of the sidewalks done, because there's a lot of cracks, it's a safety issue. And we just need that good look or refresh look. And after talking with Thomas, he believes that the Public Works Department can take care of this need on phase 1. So I'd like to stress, we would really like to do this immediately, so that once they're down, we would have an actual clean slate as to how the town looks, and how do we want the round containers? Do we want the rectangle? We'd have a better idea. But I did put in from phase 1 was removing the trees. And then phase 2, we'd start with the first 5 blocks, putting in self-watering planters. Now, and I counted as, just as an estimate of, after talking with the man, 20 for the 1 through 5 blocks. That means a total of 20, because you would have 10 on one side and 10 on the other if you gave that block 2. So you might we may want to do like a long one, but then we may want to do a 31-inch and a 21-inch round and have it like Miss Moses does in front of her store. That would give us a lot better idea if we could get those trees down first. And then I asked for $10,000 for blocks 1 to 5, and then $10,000 for blocks 5 to 11. And block 5 ends at Keaton's. That's the end of my 5th block count in your photographs. The Lake City Garden Club, which I'm also a member of, they have agreed to plant the plants and change them out 4 times a year for the different seasons. They're self-watering, they're lifetime warranty, they're made in the United States. We did contact all the business people, and they're on board with it, that had the tree in front of their space. We feel that it will enhance and attract the business in our city, and our tourists and local alike will be welcomed with cleanliness, beautiful flowers and plants. So I do have this, if you would like a copy of this. I did make some copies. I wasn't quite sure of the procedure. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Tina, may I have a copy of that for the record, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll say is, if you look at the picture on the front of the one that's labeled block 4, the picture in the right-hand corner, that's what it looks like on the storefronts. Even if you blow it every day, no matter what you do, this is what all of these leaves will blow in the lobby of the branch. They stick to everything. They're a mess.
So how many trees were relieved?
Well, now, I didn't count, I haven't gone down and counted. I don't know how many we would leave, because it's really,
But there'd be trees left, but.
there would be trees left. But I know that there are a lot of trees throughout the community that it's not going to have that much of an effect. I think it will be more of an enhancement than not wanting to get the trees down. And again, it's just that there's not an appropriate space for them to grow unless they're growing by a parking lot and they're standing up straight. So I guess what I would like to ask is for the CRA to at least go ahead and approve or send it to city council to approve the phase 1, which is removing the ones that need to come down, only the ones that need it. And I don't know how many that is.
Let's have, maybe we can have a 30-minute or 45-minute workshop. Because I think it'd be good to have that with the city council or the CRA and do what you're doing now for the rest of the council so they can actually see it.
You mean walk them down instead of?
No, but do this presentation at a workshop before the regular meeting.
Okay. Well, could that be done before the meeting on the 21st?
That's what I was kind of thinking. If we don't push it on through, then we'd have to do it on the 21st at maybe 5 o'clock or something like that.
Okay.
10.
What you
We can do the meeting before the 5 o'clock meeting if we don't want to do it on a separate day.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. We can do it prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock.
He has to.
Somebody else has to. CRA in there too, is that? You know.
Right.
Okay.
But, so you cannot, you're saying you want to have a workshop with the council before you recommend for the trees to come down that are affecting the businesses in?
This group here today can make a motion to recommend that to that next group.
Right.
So then in 2 weeks or whatever it is, then that motion will be brought to them. But then they're not gonna know what we know. That's why I wanted you to do that presentation there
Prior to,
the regular.
not during the meeting, but prior to.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, does that sound right? Sure. Audrey, yeah.
Yes, sir, that would be fine. This committee is just an advisory committee, so that's why it has to be a recommendation.
Okay.
But we can make that recommendation from this committee but then I'd like them to actually see what you just presented.
Okay.
It'd be good if all of us, I know I am, I'm gonna go walk the street and check this out.
Well, a lot of times, or people that I've said something to, it's like, oh, I never really noticed, but you're really right. They do look, they're all different sizes. It's like they almost touch in the middle and they're going to get bigger than the road is wide. So it's just only a matter of time on that. And if phase 1 needs to happen before 2 or 3.
But I know for years, it's been discussed and talked about, especially Thomas, at one time when the state had Marion Street, didn't we have to get their approval? But we don't now because we have it, right? But that's one thing we kept talking about, because I know George Ward had this deal with his. But we couldn't do it without the state, but now we can.
Yes, sir. Now we can. But, Mr. Young.
Then Mr. Young wants to be heard
On this.
Oh,
on this.
so I kept saying, what are they saying? What are they telling me?
Dave Young, Director of Growth Management, would like to bring it to your attention that the city of Lake City does have a tree ordinance, and we can't just go cutting trees down per the ordinances, so we would have to look into it to see what could be done. And it might be that CRA might have to hire an arborist to give us more information on the trees, to show us that they are diseased or creating structural damage. Those are the only 2 ways they can be cut down.
Well, structural damage would count.
David, is the elm tree part of that?
Drake elm, yes, sir.
It is?
It's
Okay.
not a heritage,
I knew
it's a
the lot about
approved tree.
Well, some of these trees, Mr. Thomas and Ms. Roberts and we walked a portion of it there, and some of these trees do present what I feel is a safety hazard.
Yes, sir, but
Blocking some of the
like I said,
signage and some of
arborist can recommend trimming them and shaping them.
the things.
Well, I think we've
Thomas
had
has
it,
trimmed and shaped them too, but from looking at them, and this is my opinion of them, these trees has outgrown their usefulness from where they're located at. You know, because some of them are almost above the building in height. And that presents a view problem for people that are inside the building. But I'm glad you brought that down, Adrian. We do need to look at our ordinance and see what our ordinance says and see what we can do. I mean, work around that, deal with this problem, because this is the issue I think that it's not gonna go away, I don't think, and it's not gonna get any better because the trees are going to continue growing. And by history, it says that they can grow as high as 50 feet, 40 feet wide.
We do have a provision in the tree ordinance that trees can be replaced 4 to 1.
In the same area or a different area of the town?
You're talking about planting trees over here, aren't you, at the park?
Yeah.
So if CRA would like to replace 4 to 1 ratio, that's a possibility.
And the ordinance would allow us to do that,
Yes.
consider that.
I'm glad you brought it up because we do have to comply with our own ordinances, but, we need to look and see so we can be ready to do what we gotta do.
It sounds like there'll be potentially some structural damage with some of these, especially with it getting so wide.
well, you can see that it's hitting the awning, and I believe that, didn't the city help purchase the awnings on some of those?
Awnings aren't a structural part of the building.
See, but even if they tore a hole in it or damaged it? Who is an arborist?
We have them out there at the moment.
If the college phone, get a hold of US Forestry.
Mr. Chairman, may I have a comment? At Christmas time.
No, I'm so sorry. You can-
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I know.
Thank you.
No problem. At Christmas time, I don't disagree with Mr. Roberts at all in terms of need for the tree to be removed, even though I love trees, but I understand it's a problem. But at Christmas time, those trees add a decoration of benefit to downtown Lake City. I remember going to pick up my aunt at St. Peter, elderly lady had moved away, been gone for 50 years, and came into downtown before Christmas, and she thought she was in another city, but she just couldn't believe that. So I guess when we think about it, we gotta think about what the decoration is gonna look like during Christmas time when those trees are removed. Because you're gonna see a difference. Christmas time now, you go down there, it's lit from all the way down, and it's pretty. But so it's gone, and so gonna say, well, what happened to our Christmas light? They won't even think about the tree, they think just took away the light. So, but that is another consideration too, in terms of how we're gonna decorate for Christmas without those trees being there.
We did talk
Can I
about
say
that,
one more
didn't we, Ms. Roberts? Come on.
I know what he's talking about on the trees and decorating them, and that's actually in the park. The only thing that's done to the Drake elms on Marion Street at Christmas is the trunk is wrapped in lights. Just the trunk of the tree. There's nothing up in the Drake elm trees, but there is all in the park. But on the sides of the, am I correct? So it is just the base of the plant, and again, once we have something that is beautiful that is there, and at Christmas time, it's filled with poinsettias or, you know, like a small Christmas tree in the center, and then you've got these brand new banners that are gonna be however long they are. So I just think it'll look a lot sleeker to me, but that's the goal.
Yes, what was discussed on the downtown area for the beautification of Christmas time is, you know, the big wreaths, so now you'll be able to see them. And the light poles will be all lit up, still the base of the light poles. The reason we quit putting them in the trees, the lights in the trees, is because the big trucks that come through town, they'll hook onto them and snatch them all down all the way through town. Because the trees has outgrown themselves in the area. So that's the reason we want to do the trunk of the tree to protect our lights. They're not cheap. We spend a lot of money on Christmas lights every year. But that's what we looked at, is like all the antique poles and all, fixing all them up with all the, you know, the big Christmas wreaths. So you'll be able to see all that still through town. And then maybe some of these shops may fix up their areas. Because now you'll be able to wonder to see the areas. Shop signage there.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Any other comments?
I think it's a great idea.
Do we have a recommendation from the committee as to where we go with it? You suggested that we have a workshop around it. Okay, and we'll start there.
So at the workshop, we probably need to totally understand the ordinance, what we can do in place of it, and then try to have an arborist there too that can speak at that time.
Or at least have the ordinance study to where we say, yes, this is
What
what
we know the limitations are as it relates to the ordinance. You need to know, at least know that.
We'll work on that.
I'll make a motion that we take this issue and have a workshop with the CRA. Hopefully, maybe on the 21st, we can get all this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. A motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, see by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And I believe that concludes all the items on the agenda. Do anyone have any comments? Remember?
Good meeting.
I just wanted to remind everybody about the Growers and Makers Market. It's every second and fourth Saturday. I just wanted to remind everyone about the Growers and Makers Market. It's every second and fourth Saturday. We're having one this Saturday. Our last one on the 22nd. I had 15 vendors. They have until tomorrow to let me know that they're gonna be here Saturday. As of right now, I have 18 coming this Saturday. And they have fresh vegetables and fruit and honey, all that kind of stuff. So please come out and show your support if you could.
That's this Saturday,
Saturday from 9 to 2.
9 to 2, okay? That will be all the business. We would stand adjourned.